Is Frankfurt a multicultural city situated in Germany, or a German city which is also multicultural?
This is very, very philosophical.
Philosophical.
Yeah.
Hello everybody. Once again, this is Che, and you know what they say. If you've got something to say, then talk with Che. And today I'm here in Frankfurt with Cristina Sirbu.
Yes, thank you very much for the invitation,
Okay.
Che.
Great, great. So I have with me Cristina. Cristina is the Vice President of the Foreigners Advisory Council in Frankfurt. Cristina was not born in Germany and is still a student, but has found her way into the politics of Frankfurt. And what is this Foreigners Advisory Council? What is it?
We are kind of like a foreigners, how to say it, a foreigners parliament. It's not like not officially parliament, but think of it like this. We have in Frankfurt 30% of the population is foreign. What do we mean by foreign? A foreigner, statistically, is someone with a different citizenship other than the German one.
Okay.
So 30%, there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And usually they don't have a right to vote for
Okay.
local elections. So that's why the state of Hessen said like 30 years ago, we want to include these people because they live here. Some people are here since 20, 30 or even more years, pay their taxes, but they don't have a right to vote. So that's why the Foreigners Advisory Council was born, not only in Frankfurt, but also in the whole Hessen. Like in a city with at least 1,000 foreigners, such council has to be built and also elected.
Very interesting.
And the one in Frankfurt is the second biggest one in Germany.
Okay.
I think the first biggest one is in Munich.
Okay. And
Yeah.
the second biggest one in France. That's interesting. So these are very powerful figures you're saying. 30% of all Frankfurters don't have a German passport. And if I'm not mistaken, over half of the people who live in Frankfurt have some kind of migratory or migration background, right? And those without a passport cannot vote. And that's why you have the Foreign Advisory Council. But what is the relationship between the Foreign Advisory Council and this 30%? I'm asking because up until 2 years ago, I'd never heard of it. And I know many people who have never heard of the Foreigners Advisory Council. What is the actual role of the Foreigners Advisory Council with respect to people who do not have a German passport living in a German city like Frankfurt? And where is the connection between both of them?
So first of all, we talk to associations. There are a lot of foreigners associations, like every community, like Brazilian, Turkish, Italian, like every community has its own associations.
Yeah.
And we talk to them. We ask like, what are your desires? Where do you need help?
Yeah.
And they tell us how we can help. Oftentimes it's about working permission. How can people write a CV? So we offer sometimes even a guidance, because like we cannot promise everything, you know, like when you make a request, we of course write requests to the Magistrat. Magistrat is like the government of Frankfurt.
Okay.
So we write requests, and for example, like free German classes.
Okay.
You can write this request, but it can take years to implement that.
Okay.
So we do that if the communities tell us that they need us.
Yeah.
And sometimes we also offer counseling. Like we say, there is already something like that on the market here in Frankfurt. You can go to this association. One of them, for example, is Berami. They have counseling, so many people don't even know about the offers, so we guide them through these offers. And of course organize also events.
Okay.
If communities want to do something like international festival
Yes.
or some other cultural festivities, we also help with that.
Okay.
And generally we fight for the migrants' interests. For example, one of our main topics is the foreigners office, the Ausländerbehörde.
Yes.
Because many people, when they go there, they seek help,
Yeah.
but instead of that they are faced with ignorant
bureaucratic hurdles.
yes, so we
and attitudes.
yes, so we fight for that since years, like not only when I started, also from the years before.
Okay. Let me interrupt you and ask you something, because there's some things you said I want to understand. Like when I first came to Frankfurt in 2009, I really did not know anything. I did not know what the different offices were, governmental offices, what they were, what they represent, what I can get from them or what they expect me to do. And I know that this happens to many foreigners, and there's really nobody to explain anything to anybody as a foreigner when you come to this country, especially as an adult. If you come as a student, it's a bit easier because you're part of the school system or university system. But if you come as a worker or migrant worker, it's very, very hard. So now you said the Foreigners Advisory Council works with, you said associations, but there are many foreigners who are not in any kind of association. So who can approach the Foreigners Advisory Council? Can an individual foreigner approach the Foreigners Advisory Council and say, I have this problem, I have that problem, I'm lacking in knowledge in this regard? Or must it be an association? Must every foreigner, first of all, join some kind of association, and only then the association then establishes the contact with the KAV, with the Foreigners Advisory Council? Which one is it?
Everyone can contact us, and
Okay.
it's quite open actually. Like if you check the Frankfurt website, frankfurt.de,
Okay.
there's also a lot of information about local politics.
Yes.
But of course, not many people know about that because who checks the official website. But in theory, everyone can come and ask for help. Like our plenary sessions are open for the public. And in the beginning, the citizens can come and also talk about their needs. Of course, not everyone wants to talk so publicly about that.
Yes.
But many people write emails. Like if they find us on the website, frankfurt.de, they write an email. Like I receive like per day like 20 emails where people ask me like, hey, I have some problems with my employer. Can you help me, or can you give me some other contact? And every one of my colleagues is open to that. Like this is our job to help. Sometimes even if I'm not an expert in a field, I'm asking my colleagues if they know somebody.
All right. So this is interesting. So anybody who is officially, technically a foreigner, that is, you don't have a German passport, you were born outside of Germany, and things like that, can officially contact the Foreigners Advisory Council, not just the associations. The question I'm going to ask now, I mean, you answered it in part, is exactly how do people contact the Foreigners Advisory Council? You say people write an email to you. Where do they find this email? Is it only in the website of the city government? Is that the only point of contact with the Foreigners Advisory Council? Do you guys have your own site? Do you guys proactively reach out to associations and hand over to them your contacts and things like that?
We also have a Facebook page,
Okay.
and many people contact us also through Facebook.
Facebook page.
And well, everyone can approach us. Like obviously, we don't have access to every person's data, because this would be ideal if we would go to everyone and ask them. But we also go proactively to associations and make appointments with them.
Okay.
And ask what are the problems within the community, where do you need help.
Okay.
But I must say this is voluntary work. Like we are not full-time politicians.
Okay.
So I also have to say that we don't have the capacity to reach out to everyone. So
got you.
sometimes it takes a bit longer. Ideally, when associations contact us or come to us, some associations even come to the plenary session and present themselves. This is also a great opportunity. Like if an association is struggling financially or needs more, more medial, more attention, they come to our plenary session, present themselves, and there are also other politicians who can help.
Okay.
So this is also a great opportunity to show the community.
So you said it's all voluntary.
Yes.
You're not paid for it. And so you came to Germany as a teenager, as a Moldovan teenager, finished your school and started studying in the university. At what point did you decide to go into politics? How did it happen that you suddenly found yourself going into politics?
Well, maybe we can start when I came to Germany. I was 17 years old, and it was quite shocking for me at first.
Okay.
My school was a bit like, it was still within Frankfurt, but it was like just at the periphery of Frankfurt. So a lot of people already knew each other, and there were like a couple of foreigners. And being a foreigner, I was perceived differently. So this was the whole change for me. Like in Moldova, I was very confident. I had a big friends group, and now I was this loner person who was faced with discrimination. In the beginning, people didn't even say my name. They asked me if I were gypsy. And for me, it was a bit painful, you know, like you want to be perceived as a person, you want to show your personality, but instead you just reduced to this part which is not even part of your identity. So first of all, it's really painful to say that. So I was a loner, and I also observed how other teenagers are treated, also with migrational background. I also had someone from Turkey and from India, and we were constantly faced with prejudices. And this awakened something in me I've never felt before, like this kind of injustice. I was like, how can we endure that? Like, we don't have to endure that. I was still shy when I was in school, but then later on, when I was studying, I became more confident. I was part of the student union. And I thought, we are in a university right now, you know, it's a different context. People are more open-minded, but still there was this discrimination against people with migrational background. Like sometimes you could observe that they got like the grade difference, or how, you know, you just feel it. As a foreigner, you just feel it. That you're seen differently. You just
feel it.
Yes, and I was like, you know, this is
you can't always explain it. You can't always say exactly what it is, but you feel it.
Yes, and you want to belong. You don't want to feel excluded. Somehow you're in the room, but you feel excluded. And I was like, well, it happened in school. It happens now in university. So this is a problem which the city has to address. It's not something like in our micro environment. And then I started doing research, like what can I do to change something. And at the time I was insecure if I can join a party, and I was not sure which one. I was torn between SPD and Grüne, but I had this thought like for a couple of months. And when I was walking through the university halls, I saw a flyer for a mentoring program. And this program was called Mehr Bock auf Politik. And
that is to have more interest in politics and more passionate interest for politics.
I definitely had the passion and interest, but I had no idea where to start. And you know, sometimes when you wish something so badly, the universe delivers it to you.
So it started with a wish.
Yes.
It was your own personal wish, and then you found the way.
Yes, I applied for this mentoring program. And my mentor was someone from the Green Party, Landtags member, like a member of the Parliament of Hessen.
State House of Assembly, State Parliament.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
not the state parliament within Frankfurt, like
The state parliament of the state
Yes.
of Hessen. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So he guided me for 9 months, and actually from the first meeting, I told him about my ideas that I want to fight against discrimination and racism, and also for the climate. And he said, you know, you have great ideas. Why do you want to join the Green Party? And then I've met other members, and I saw how the meetings are being held, and I became a fan, and I also became a member. And also he said, why not be a candidate later on for the election?
Okay, so that's interesting. So that's how you got into politics. You had the wish, you had the experience of being a foreigner and perceiving yourself to be perceived as a foreigner by the environment and also treated as one. And it triggered within you the wish to be able to do something about it, if I'm not mistaken. And you wanted to do it through politics. And your way into politics was, you decided to join a party, from what I understand, and the party that offered you the path into politics in this case was the Green Party. Because I also know some foreigners, I know people of foreign background who are in all the parties, in the center left SPD, in the center right CDU, in the left party, in the liberal FD, they're everywhere, I know that. So your path was through the Green Party to be able to find why. You are looking for a political platform, or you are looking for a possibility to influence the politics of the city? Which one?
First of all, I was looking for allies. I wanted to find like-minded people.
Okay.
For me, it was not only fighting for foreigners; it was also about feminism. I'm also an intersectional feminist.
Okay.
And when we talk about discrimination, we have to think intersectionally. Like, there are different intersections between race, gender, and sexual orientation. And of course, through politics, you can influence lawmaking, you can influence different programs. So it was about finding allies and also making an impact, especially a positive impact.
Okay. What value exactly does the KAV have to them, and how can you here advise them to establish contact with the KAV? What would you tell them if you were just suddenly to run into 10,000, 5,000 foreigners here in Frankfurt who have never heard of the KAV? What would you tell them?
I will tell them to have courage, because I see this thing that many people think that they've been forgotten. And this is not only due to politics. I think like it also goes hand in hand with this discrimination experience.
Okay.
Like many people work here and are responsible taxpayers and actually a member of the whole community, but they still feel neglected. So I can also speak from experience. I also felt this way, and I also talked to many other communities, and they said like, nobody's here for us. We are on our own. We are fighting for our rights. We have to fight the employer. We have to fight everyone, and also explain to the Germans that we have the same rights. So I would say, have the courage and inform yourself. This is also a personal responsibility. Like, you know, we don't have the capacity to deliver all the information. So everyone has to do their own part. I wished I had this knowledge years ago. Just check the website, the official website, frankfurt.de. You have all the political bodies here, because the KAV is not the only one. If you come to us and you see like, guys, I'm not happy with your work, you can also go to the city parliament. You can go to your local district, because, you know, we have also different responsibilities. So it depends on what kind of problem you have. Different political body is going to be responsible for you. But I would say we have to do our duty, like civic duty. Just inform yourself first, and what are the possibilities. So
courage, that is the one and main advice you would give to foreigners.
Yes.
The courage to step out of themselves and to get involved. Would you advise foreigners to get involved in politics of the society in which they live?
Absolutely. We have this unique perspective, and it has to be showed in politics as well, because especially in a city like Frankfurt, like where 50% or more than 50% of the people have migrational background, so we have different views. We celebrate diversity, but it should not only be celebrated on the website or on paper. It also should be lived and also shown in politics.
Like that.
I would also say, come and join the politics and speak about the problems that move you, because you're not the only one.
Okay, nice. Cristina, I have a question for you. Are you a foreigner?
To be honest, I don't see myself as a foreigner anymore. I used to in the first years.
Okay, let me rephrase it. When you came to Germany, you were a foreigner.
Yes, I was.
Now you're not a foreigner anymore, or you don't see yourself as a foreigner anymore. At what point did you stop being a foreigner?
Well, if we talk officially, last year I stopped being a foreigner because I got the German citizenship.
Okay.
So obviously on paper I'm German now, but I started to feel German maybe 5 years ago, when I started to speak the language fluently, when I was socially active. I had this German lifestyle, so I thought I see my future here, and I also want to work for the society here. So
interesting.
I'm officially a part. So I said,
That's very interesting. You've said some things. You speak the language, you live the lifestyle, you see your future here, and you want to work for the society. What more can a society ask of a person? What more? Very interesting. But what is the public perception of you? Are you perceived as a German?
Not yet. Obviously, I have white privilege, so people when see I'm white, I mean, as someone, as like a person of color or a black person, it's a whole different experience. So when people just see me, maybe they think that I'm German. But once I open my mouth and the accent comes out, then they're like, okay, all right. So where are you really from? Where are your parents from? So,
okay, that's really interesting. It's a very philosophical question. What is a foreigner? And at what point in time does a human being stop being a foreigner somewhere? You said something very interesting. I have a very, very good friend, a black man who was born here. Both parents are black. Both parents are originally from Nigeria. Born here, grew up here. But when he's seen, the first perception is he's not a German, he's a foreigner, So at what point does a person stop being perceived to be a foreigner in your estimation?
I don't think there's a timeline to say this. I think many people have to question their unconscious bias and ask themselves, like, why do they think that a black person can't be German or isn't born here? So I think we have to educate people better in school, also in kindergarten, so they can see the diversity, not only see it. Like, there are many people that like say, I don't see any color. No, you should see color. You should see the struggle of the people, but you shouldn't think that they are always outsiders. So it's hard to say. I think, I don't know, like there's also this internal feeling if you feel as a foreigner, and also this external perception. So we still have a long way to go to change this external perception of the people.
So you do not perceive yourself anymore to be a foreigner. You perceive yourself to be a German. But at this moment, you're involved in a politics that represents foreigners. So you are like a bridge, because you came as a foreigner, you've become a German, so you understand a lot of both sides, and you're playing, you're practicing the politics in the middle. Where do you want to see yourself? Where do you see yourself in the future politically?
I can speak from my experience. It can be life-changing to be in Frankfurt. I was never immersed in so many cultures like this here. And when I came here, I was confronted with some ignorant thoughts that I had. You know, I wasn't this open-minded person like I'm right now. And Frankfurt contributed a lot to that, because I was in this direct contact with the communities, and I was also confronted with the thoughts that I had. I also received feedback.
Okay.
And so I can recommend to everyone to, you know, to get in contact to other communities and question their own unconscious bias.
So Cristina, one last question for you. In your estimation, your perception, is Frankfurt an international city situated in Germany, or a German city with a strong international character?
I would say it's the second option. Frankfurt is a German city with an international character. We have to also look at the historical development. Like it started as a normal German city, but due to migration it developed to this open-minded city, like one of the greatest cities in Frankfurt, and also due to due to the many ideas that people brought here to Frankfurt. It made, like, the people made Frankfurt so international, but it has also a German character.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, would you say Frankfurt as a city is good for foreigners? What I mean by this is, you know, we live in a world that is humanity is a wandering species. We always wander. We've always done so, right from the inception, millions or hundreds of thousands of years ago. And today, we still do so. People move. People move to the global north. People also move to the global south. People move into cities. Right now, there's more movement from rural areas into cities. And of course, one of the cities that you find people wanting to move to, people moving to both from the global north and from the global south, from everywhere, east and west, is Frankfurt. So would you say Frankfurt generally is good for foreigners?
I would say it's very good for foreigners. It also for the personal development. You have here great career opportunities. You have this intercultural exchange, which is not present in other cities, and of course the diversity. Yeah.
And do you think that foreigners are good for Frankfurt?
Foreigners made Frankfurt the city it is today. Like I'm not denying the German contribution, but the fact that Frankfurt is so attractive right now, it's a direct contribution of the foreigners. So yes, Frankfurt is very lucky to have so many foreigners here.
So it's a win-win situation?
Yes, definitely.
All right. Cristina Sirbu, Vice President of the Foreigners Advisory Council of Frankfurt. Thank you for being here with us today, talking with Che. It has been my pleasure. You've said things that have made me think, and you've shown some more light on this Foreigners Advisory Council and why it is so important for foreigners to try and establish the connection, the contact with the Foreigners Advisory Council. So I hope any foreigner who wants to know more about the Foreigners Advisory Council, or who has some, issues they need advice on, can contact you?
Yes, definitely. I'm on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, everywhere.
Okay. But they can also directly contact the Foreigners Advisory Council, like you said, on the website of the city, that's frankfurt.de.